compare myself to someone else. I can't be like, well, they can do this much with their lives, so I should be able to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it means I have to literally be making my life boundaries based on, and it's actually been helpful for me because it's like, oh, if I don't set boundaries, I'm gonna crash.
Yeah.
Like I can't not. And it's easier to set boundaries because of your body, because it doesn't there's no guilt associated. You're like, I'm not choosing something over you. I'm choosing not dying over you. That's
Yeah.
not me. But the interesting thing about balance is, so my husband has a podcast for men, which is incredible. And him and his co-host were talking about anxiety and how um, scientifically we end up recreating as much anxiety as we grew up in. So I started recognizing in my life that I was always doing too much, and I was always at the end of my rope, and always feeling like I had no capacity, and always like in survival mode. And I was like, oh, that is what I felt like growing up.
Yeah.
And so I had to consciously choose, how do I take control of my life so that I don't spend the rest of my life being so busy, being so, and part of that even comes from changing my view of God, that God cares about me as much as he cares about doing things for him. You know, like he cares as much about me thriving and me not being at the end of my rope than he does at me helping the world. So all of those things are kind of the culmination of being okay with knowing my capacity, regardless of if it's the same as other people, wanting to live a life where there's margin. I found that I used to live where I would fill up every ounce of what I had. And so then if something bad happened or something I wasn't thinking about came into my life that week, it would throw me over. So learning the balance of like, I need to have margin so that when there's an emergency, I'm not pushed beyond what is capable. And I got to be honest with you, talking about vulnerability, I have people in my life that I check in with about this topic because I love to be doing things.
Yeah.
So I literally will have to ask my husband, like, okay, am I taking too much on? How are you experiencing this? My counselor, my best friends, I like check in every so often and readjust.
That is, honestly, that's amazing advice. Even just the relationship you have with your spouse, having the people that can, for me, it's my pastor. I have some mentors in my life that I do almost the exact same thing. It's not even about, hey, am I good? It's more of, hey, maybe you see something that I don't. Have I reached capacity and I don't see it? And they'll be completely honest with me all the time. They're like, yeah, it looks like your hand's in too many places. Let's reevaluate. Let's see where you can, maybe let somebody else do it. And especially if you have that personality that's very, I would call it like an entrepreneurial type mindset that's always wanting to progress, always wanting to go forward. And it's like, man, sometimes you just have to sit back and let other people do things, or just enjoy life for a little bit. You don't always have to be working. Sometimes you could just enjoy a moment with your family, and that's it. So Abby, I really do appreciate you coming on. I heard you speak a few weeks ago. Do you have any upcoming projects, or where can people hear more about you and your work?
Yeah, I have a website, abistumvoll.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Me and my husband right now are working on a project I'm so excited about. It'll be out in the next few months, but it's a Father Series workbook, and it is 11 different teachings and talking through how fathers impact you in different ways that they impact you, and how to work through your pain or belief systems that you created around that are separating you from God, or keeping you disconnected from people, or just that. So I'm so learning how to forgive and walk through it and see yourself differently. I'm very excited about that. That'll be out in a few months. But my husband has the Liberation Project. It's a podcast for men, although they have a lot of women listeners, because we all know how men
of course.
think. And then I speak, like, I think I'm speaking at Bethel in June, and those are always live streamed. So those are ways that people can connect.
Awesome. Again, Abi, thanks again for coming on and sharing your heart and being who you are and what makes you a blessing to all of us around. I know that God is only you're only at the beginning stages of where God is going to just really flourish, and really I feel your words can impact people across the world. So again, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk soon and stay in contact.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Again, guys, hopefully you guys were blessed by that. Abby's just such an encouraging person, and personally, I wish there was more people like Abi that were transparent and honest about their life. I really believe God has graced her and continues to grace her, and I think a lot of it has to do with her knowing where she's at, putting boundaries on herself, and even including my own life. And excuse me, I would encourage you, look at your life. Where is it that maybe you can have somebody else take on things? Maybe you're one here today where you're literally holding on to things, and you should really be open and allowing God to go into the deepest places of your heart. I would again encourage you, allow God to allow God to come into your heart, allow Him to establish Himself, and find people you can speak to and confide in and be open with. Once you begin to do that, you're going to begin to see God bring this balance and this, you're not going to feel overwhelmed on a daily basis. You're going to feel like every single day God is gracing you and walking with you every single step of the way. So again, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week. Again, forgive me, Raylene's not on. She had to do a few things for the kids, but we look forward to seeing you next week. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us for this episode on Conversations on Faith and Family. Send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our website at conversationsonfaithandfamily.com. As always, subscriptions to our shows are free and available wherever you find podcasts, as well as on our website. Until next week, join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for more conversations on our community.